Today we're going to talk about the best perks to run for Survivor. There's so many videos online about the best chase build, the best gen build, the best whatever build, and it can always feel really overwhelming trying to find the best build to run. So in today's video, we're talking about the absolute best perk build for any Survivor. The reason why some of these videos might not work for you is because your playstyle is unique to you. The best perk build will always be the best build for your personal playstyle. So for today's video, I've gathered a list of all perks and we're going to talk about your playstyle and what perks suit your playstyle. In my opinion, it's not optimal to run a perk build that revolves around one task. For example, if you run 4 chase perks but your teammate ends up getting chased and tunneled all game, what did your perks do for you? Or if you run a full gen build and end up taking chase all game, what did your perks do for you? Think about your strengths as a Survivor. Are you good in chase? Better for saves? Pick the 2 things you like to do the most, or the 2 things that you think you're the best at, and pick perks related to those things. For example, let's talk about my build. My build is reassurance, bond, adrenaline, and object of obsession. On paper, you don't really think of running these perks together, but when you think about my playstyle, it makes total sense. My 2 strengths and the 2 things I enjoy the most are teammate interaction and killer interaction. I'm an altruistic player. I love helping my teammates, and I also love taking chase. Bond is a perk that allows me to see my teammates' aura when they're within 36 meters. This allows me to take hits from my teammates, heal them when they're injured, do gens with them, and more so it satisfies the altruism of my strengths. But it's also great for when I'm being chased. With Bond, I can avoid running the killer to areas that survivors are working on gens, and I can also steal the chase from my teammates if I notice they're being tunneled or need help. Reassurance is a Rebecca perk that allows me to pause the survivor's hook state for 30 seconds. This is a really great team perk because it counters tunneling and camping really well, but it also prevents snowballing for unhooks. For example, if everyone is injured and it's too risky to go in for the save, I can reassure and we can take the time to heal as a group before going in because of the additional time that reassurance provides. It's also great in endgame if the killer has no ed or we need to get a gate before going for the save. But it's more rewarding when the killer's tunneling or camping. If I notice the killer's tunneling, I leave my teammate on hook for as long as possible so that they don't have to buy as much time in chase. The killer wastes time waiting for them to get unhooked and we do gens in the background. Same if the killer's camping. They waste time camping a hook for 100 seconds and we do gens in the meantime. Up next is Object of Obsession. Object is a perk that allows you to see the killer's aura anytime they see your aura. This means anytime the killer would see your aura with a perk like barbecue and chili or maybe an add-on, you also get to see their aura. In addition to that effect, you also get a bonus when you're the Obsession. If you're the Obsession, you get to see their aura every 30 seconds. Just remember, they see your aura too. This is a great perk for info since it basically reveals any perks the killer has, or even some add-ons. For example, if the killer kicks a gen and I see their aura, that means they have nowhere to hide. This allows me to play my chases better since I have the same knowledge the killer has. This is also a great info perk since I get to see their aura every 30 seconds when I'm the Obsession. And finally, Adrenaline. Adrenaline will heal you 1 health state after the gens are completed, and it'll give you a haste for 3 seconds. This is great for someone that likes to get chased. You can strategically take chase in in-game and time your hits around the gen progress that you see on the HUD. This is also great to take a hit for your teammate if they're the ones getting chased in in-game. This build works perfectly for me because it's made with my personal playstyle in mind. Now let's think about your playstyle. What do you like to do in a match? Do you like to heal your teammates, go for saves, do gens, chases? Whatever your playstyle is, pick perks related to your playstyle and make a unique build for yourself. Let's go over each category and what perks fit under what category, along with my favorites for each one. Let's start with chase perks. If chases are your favorite part of the game and they're your strength, you'll pull from this category. The one piece of advice I have for this category is if you're not good in chase, you do not want to run a chase build. Chase perks will only enhance your skills as a looper. They will not make you a better looper. You always want to run perks that enhance the skills you do have. If you don't have a lot of skills in a category, you're not going to get the most value out of them. Now let's get started with my favorites in the chase category. Up first for a favorite is Adrenaline, of course. If you find yourself taking chase until in-game often, this is a great one. Next is Resilience. This perk is one of the most versatile in the game. It helps in different categories and it is a non-teachable so everyone has access to Resilience. Resil increases your action speed for repairing, healing, saboing, unhooking, vaulting, cleansing, blessing, opening, and unlocking by 9% when you're injured. This 9% vault speed can allow you to make a vault you normally wouldn't have made. Up next is Alert. Alert I think is underrated. Alert allows you to see the killer's aura for 5 seconds after they break a pallet or generator. This is great on taller loops where you break line of sight, especially if you like getting chased but find yourself getting mind gamed pretty often. I'll mention Bond in this category as well. As I mentioned earlier, Bond will allow you to see the aura of your teammates so you can avoid taking the killer towards vulnerable survivors or survivors working on objectives. Of course, we also talked about Object, but I have to highlight there's a misconception that Object does not work when you're not the Obsession. This is not true. Object will always show you the killer's aura anytime they see your aura. The only part that's tied to Obsession is the part that shows the killer's aura to you on a timer. Those are my favorite chase perks, but there's a ton of others you might like, starting with Exhaustion perks, Balanced Landing, Blood Rush, Dead Hard, Head On, Lithe, Overcome, Smash Hit, Sprint Burst, and Dramaturgy. If you're newer to the game, in my opinion, Overcome will likely be the best exhaustion for you. It extends the sprint you get after becoming injured. This is great since you can literally just hold W and make it far away with little to no effort. A lot of times, because of how much distance you get, the killers will move on to someone else. I also have to talk about Iron Will. Iron Will silences your grunts of pain by 100%. This is great on loops where the killer can't see you since they can't hear your survivor crying through the wall, but it's also particularly good against killers like Spirit that use your grunts of pain to track you. Another fun chase perk is Hope. Hope gives you a 7% permanent haste after the gens are powered. This is so strong, especially against killers with a slower movement speed or against basic attack killers. If you find yourself looping in endgame often, I definitely give Hope a try. Below, I will list other perks that fall under this category. Up next for categories is generator perks. Personally, I don't really care for gen perks too much, but I do have two favorites to share with you guys. Deja Vu is my first recommendation. Deja Vu allows you to see the aura of the 3 gens closest to each other, and it'll provide you with a 6% repair speed bonus to those 3 gens. This is really good because it prevents a 3 gen from happening in endgame. A 3 gen is when the last 3 generators of the match are in close proximity to each other, making it really difficult for the survivors to repair and very easy for the killer to defend. This perk is great for preventing this situation, and it's a basic perk so you don't have to buy a survivor for it. Up next is Flashbang. If you're like me and don't necessarily like doing gens but you want to feel rewarded for doing them, Flashbang might be a good perk for you. Flashbang is a Leon perk where after working a gen for 40%, you can go into a locker to crash a flashbang. This flashbang can be used to get saves or confuse the killer and chase with a killer blind. I like flashbang because it incentivizes me to do gens, but it also helps me save my teammates at the same time. Special mention to Wiretap as well. Wiretap can be fun when there's a generator in a strong loop like a jungle gym or shack. It allows you to see the killer's aura when the killer comes within 14 meters of the gen. Not only do you see their aura, but the whole team does too. Below is a list of all other perks that fall under the gen category. Up next is healing. We can't talk about healing without talking about Will Make It. Will Make It is one of my absolute favorite perks. After unhooking a survivor, your altruistic healing speed is increased by 100% for 90 seconds. This honestly lasts so long. Most of the time I'm able to heal more than one person with this perk. I also really love We're Gonna Live Forever. We're Gonna Live Forever increases your healing speed of survivors in the dying state by 100%, and it'll give them an endurance if you pick them up. This is such a great perk for countering slugging. And finally, one of my favorites in this category, For the People. For the People allows you to trade a health state with your teammate. If you find your teammates getting tunneled, you can instantly heal them by trading health states, and it pairs really nicely with other perks like We're Gonna Live Forever as well. Below are all other perks that fall under the healing category. Up next are in-game perks. These are some in-game perks you can run. My personal favorites are Adrenaline, Hope, and No One Left Behind. No One Left Behind activates after the gens are completed and allows you to heal and unhook 50% faster. It also gives anyone you unhook a 7% haste and allows you to see the aura of your teammates. This is also a really good perk for blood points since it gives you a 100% bonus in the altruism category. Other in-game perks include Soul Survivor, Wake Up, Left Behind, and Low Profile. Now we're going to talk about what I call info perks. These are great for a variety of playstyles and just provide additional information to you during the match. My favorites in this category are highlighted, but I want to talk about a very popular one that I find also falls under the chase category. Windows of Opportunity. Windows is a great perk for good loopers because it shows connections and loops and allows you to make good use out of your resources. However, it can be a bad perk for non-loopers or people that are learning. Although it seems like a good perk for beginners since it shows pallets, I find a lot of new players often get in the habit of running to the pallet and just dropping the pallet, and they don't really learn how to loop with it. This is bad because they end up wasting a lot of resources for their team, and they think they're improving because their chases are obviously longer, but really they're just wasting very important resources that can cost the team later. I find sometimes they become too reliant on it and can't loop without it. However, for a good looper, it can be great for showing connections and loops, and it can allow you to make the most out of your resources. It's called Windows for a reason. Use your windows with this perk. It's the best perk for making the most out of your pallets by connecting them with surrounding tiles that are highlighted by windows. Now let's talk saving perks. Going for saves can be really rewarding and help you keep your teammates alive for longer. My favorite save perks are Breakout and Background Player. Breakout is great in a Sabo build. Breakout gives you 7% haste when you're within 5 meters of a killer carrying a survivor. This also increases that survivor's wiggling speed by 25%, making it more likely for them to wiggle out when you take a hit or Sabo save. Background Player is another favorite for going for pallet saves, flashlight saves, or flashbang saves. Background Player grants a 50% haste for 5 seconds when a survivor gets picked up. This can help you get in position for a save even if you're a bit further out. Other perks for saves are listed below. Now, as a hoarder in this game, I had to talk about item perks. Items can be a really fun side task, or maybe you're just a hoarder like me and want to add to your collection. I built my collection with the perk Plunderers. Plunderers shows you the aura of chests when you're within 32 meters, and it shows you items in the environment. It also increases the likelihood of finding items of higher rarity considerably. Below are other perks related to items. Now let's talk about Swift perks. These perks are not that great in solo queue, but with a coordinated team can provide you with some value. One of my favorites is Unbreakable. Unbreakable can be a nice perk in solo queue if you find you get slugged often, but I find it most helpful in Swift since slugging tends to be more common when I Swift. Because there are people going for saves more often and people hovering chases more often in a Swift, killers tend to slug more often, and that's when Unbreakable comes in handy. Unbreakable allows you to recover 35% faster in the dying state, and it allows you to pick yourself up from the dying state once per trial. I also really like this paired with Soul Guard in a Swift. With Soul Guard, anytime I get picked up from the dying state, I get an endurance so that I can take a hit. These work really well together, especially in a Swift where my teammates know I can take the hit on pickup. Below are other perks that work best with a coordinated team. Finally, our last category, the you're better off running nothing perks. These are perks that I absolutely do not recommend and were highlighted in red throughout this video. From me to you, you can do better. Otz makes a tier list of perks and talks about each perk individually in a very in-depth video that's definitely worth watching if you want more info on a specific perk. And that concludes my thoughts on the best perks for Survivor. Hopefully this video helped to highlight some perks you haven't thought of, or helped encourage you to make your own build based on your personal playstyle. Let me know what build you come up with in the comments, and let me know if you want a more in-depth video with some of these perks.